Back again. Ozonics Killerwinds podcast, episode number 3. I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
Yeah. So right before we started here, I wish I could have held that in because I had quite the belch. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was a decent one.
Yep. It tasted like a combination of a McDonald's breakfast burrito, a hint of picante sauce, and Dr. Pepper.
That's one thing I've learned about Cole. I haven't known him very long, but
I have a problem.
this dude's obsessed with McDonald's.
Oh my gosh, I know. And you know what's funny is I stopped cold turkey a couple of years back for a whole year. No McDonald's for a year. I just stopped.
And then you one day you gave in and it was
Game over.
Downhill.
Now I'm in too deep.
Way too deep.
Yeah. It's like a gambling addiction. I just have to keep playing because I think I'm going to get back, but I just keep losing more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I'm like, I think the other day I was like, can we do something else other than McDonald's for lunch today? And you just lost it.
Yeah. You know, I've realized over the last couple of years, I am a creature of habit.
Yeah.
Big time.
I've known you for 2 months, 3 months, and yeah.
I am a creature of habit. And you know what? It really actually kind of bothers me. For example, when I run the exact same route every single day. I have a 2 mile, a 4 mile, a 6 mile. I have all these routes and I never do anything any different. And it drives me crazy. It's like, I'll be running it and I'll be like, oh, maybe I should just turn here and go a different way. And I can't. I just have to go the same way. It's just unbelievable. I don't know why that is.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's exactly right. You know what? I actually remember hearing this a long time ago. Jay Leno, if you remember the old talk show host, he was that way. He wore blue jeans and a denim jacket and a white t-shirt.
Yep.
And he sat at his desk, and on the back wall of his desk in his office, there was a spot on the wall that was broken out in the drywall because he would constantly lean back in his chair, and it was in the same spot he leaned back every day. So I don't know. I guess I'm a lot like Jay Leno.
Yeah.
Not quite as funny, but
On a talk show.
yeah. On a pod.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Yeah. All right. So today we're talking about why we hunt. I think that's something that I know for me, and I think for you too, it's really important. I think it's actually an article that I wrote years ago for a magazine, and the article was called "Why We Hunt." And I think even for me, you know, why I hunt and why I do what I do has changed. Is always evolving. I think for you too. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's just what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Yep. I like it. Yeah. It's been. It's kind of funny too. Like, you know how you say that we evolve, and like you might not evolve, mentally or something, but like even just through the year you evolve. Like think about us right now. Like we just got done with turkey hunting, and now our mindset's completely changing to deer setup and stuff like that. So it's kind of off topic, but I was just thinking of that before we started. It's like, it's kind of a constant
evolution.
Kind of battle of what you're doing, what you're into. So yeah, it's kind of interesting just how hunting can affect you that way.
Yeah. No,
and even as an outdoorsman too, really, because like, I think you're more so into the, your mindset's changed into whitetail. For me, I still got bass fishing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like as an outdoorsman, you're constantly kind of going through these stages of what you're doing and what you're into. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, we even said that the other day. I mean, here in Iowa, our turkey season ends this Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I know I said that too. I'm like, man, since turkey season gets over, I've got a couple stands I want to go set. I want to cut some lanes. I got to go down to this place, take this stuff out of there. I'm already thinking that way. Yeah, I'm like planning out my weekends
exactly.
and or what I can get away with Tatum and the kids.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a cold. I didn't want to huck a loogie into
That's staying in.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to why we hunt, I know for me, I think the driving force, and just really asking myself and thinking about this before we were going to do this today, for me, I think why I hunt and the thing that really drives me is adventure. I think that's really, really what it comes down to. I feel like I'm always trying to find adventure in whatever I'm doing, whether it's turkey hunting or deer hunting or hunting with the kids, going to Alaska, hunting out west. It's always about adventure. I like trying to find adventure in every trip into the field. I just think that just makes it fun. Or even if it's just out checking trail cameras.
Right.
I don't know. I just love to kind of have that perspective of adventure and just always trying to find that in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think that really drives me, you know.
Right.
I feel like in a little bit of a way too, you know, I really get into bow hunting history. You know, even just, you know, when you look at different hunters over the last couple 100 years or 50 years or 100 years, when you look at some of the naturalists like that have been doing things, some of the books that have been written, I really enjoy looking back at that and thinking about how we're walking and we're hunting in the same, I mean, the earth is the earth, right? Like we're hunting on the same ground that they were too at one point, you know?
Right.
So, you know, I don't know. I just think how big it must have felt back then in those situations. And so I just try to always find a sense of adventure in what I'm doing. That's my big thing.
Yeah. And I think a big part of, you know, finding that adventure is like being able to soak in every single aspect of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I know you've talked about like whether it's walking in and stuff, you know, stars could be out, you know, soaking that in, like remembering that. And that goes to show, obviously you're a storyteller, you know, you've written in magazines and stuff like that. And, you know, those are the aspects that a good storyteller has, is being able to soak in every single aspect and tell that to people. And so all those things that you just said kind of wrap into who you are as a person, you know, loving adventure, storytelling, they all kind of mix well together. So I definitely see that when I'm hunting with you as well. So it's cool to see it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think, so what would you say, I mean, is feel like for you is like the main reason of why you hunt? What would you say is kind of your number one thing?
I mean, mine's kind of broad, but I just like the storytelling aspect. I like it. And it's a little different between me and you. Like you're more of a writer. I'm more of a visual guy. So obviously that's what I'm here doing is the content creation. So that's filming and producing videos and stuff. So that's why I do it. Cause like, I just always think like, I don't know what I would talk to people about if I wasn't a hunter. Like I have so many cool stories about hunting and stuff. I'm like, man, if that wasn't part of my life, like what would I be doing? You know? And so I think the storytelling aspect and the memory making aspect is kind of why I do it. And like the filming has just been a really cool thing that I've added to what I do with hunting. And it's, you know, made that storytelling so much better. I mean, you can tell a story really good, but when you can see it and feel like you're there, that's why I do it. It's very satisfying to me.
Yeah.
So
I think you just made a really good point about how if you're not talking about hunting or thinking about hunting, you don't have much to talk about.
Yeah.
I am the exact same way. I feel like it's funny when you said that, right? What came to mind for me is sports.
Yeah.
That is my in between.
Yeah.
Right. Because like when I go to family functions with my wife's got a big family, and a lot of times I'm just like, do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because and I love her family and they'll, hey, how you doing? What you been up to? Well, man, that's an hour conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and I love them, but they don't really as much want to hear about like, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, you know, man, it's crazy the NBA playoffs. Like, oh man, like what about those Vikings? You know, like that's kind of my in between.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if I'm not talking about hunting, I don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's a big issue for me. Like I remember like living with my roommates or even like the family aspect too. Like, you know, like people just don't really understand.
Yeah.
And like that kind of like reiterates like to myself or like shows me like how passionate I really am about it. Cause like, I'd like get home back to my college house and be like, oh, you're not gonna believe what just happened this weekend when I was hunting. Like it was just amazing. And they're just sitting there like crickets. And I'm like, oh, gee, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
But then like, yeah, like, you know, throughout high school, I was really big into sports. So, you know, I was knowledgeable of it. I still am, but I'm not into it as much. And I definitely get that feel like when people are like, what have you been up to? Oh, I've been hunting. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. And I'm like, well, now what do we talk about? Because I'm just not as into the sports anymore as I used to be.
Yeah. That's funny. Dude, it's funny you say that too. I was taking Jet to soccer practice a couple nights ago. Well, he had actually supposed to have practice, ended up being a game. And I don't know the first thing about soccer, dude. I don't even know. I know that the center line is called the midline. Just found that out. I know there's a goalie, obviously, on each side. Their games are 4-on-4. I don't think that's normally how it is, right? They have like offensive and defense.
Yeah.
I know a little bit more because I like the show Ted Lasso, but for the most part, I don't know what's going on. But I always usually, I've got I don't even know where it is. I left it in the other room, I think. I usually have my nasty, dirty Kuyu hat on, right? So I got my clean Ozonics hat on today, but I've always got this Kuyu hat on, and it's pretty gross. It's a little smelly. But I'm a coach, and I don't, like I said, I'm just there because they needed volunteers to coach, and I'm just like, hey, have fun. But the other coach, he seems like a real nice guy. I don't even know his name. Seems like a nice guy. And the other night, we're at the game, and we got done with the game, and he walked up, he's like, hey, nice hat. And I was like, and I didn't have time, right? Like we were in a hurry. Tatum wanted me to pick up milk for Rush, and I'm like, God, we gotta go. And I knew I didn't have time for the conversation because I knew it was going to turn into. So he's like, hey, nice hat. I'm like, thanks. So you hunt? Yeah. He goes, you ever spend any time in the mountains? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, hey man, I gotta go. And you could tell he wanted to have this. You could tell he was a hunter, you know. And he was like, we're both at soccer practice. Like we're both like, we're just here because our boys are in this, and we're just trying to help out and spend the time with them. But you could tell right away he wanted to talk about hunting, and I'm like, gosh, I don't have time for this right now. So the next time I see him, I'm gonna have to be like, hey, dude, listen, I'm sorry I had to run, but yeah, man, like I love to hunt. You like to hunt?
Yeah.
Because you could tell that he totally wanted to get into it.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of funny. But I think the interesting thing too, there's been lots written about what we're going to talk about next, and it's about the different stages of hunting. I think I'd heard about it years ago and not really thought much about it, but it's kind of, actually my brother-in-law brought it up to me, and I heard somebody at Ozonics years ago talk about it, and I think it's very applicable to this conversation, and it's really interesting as we kind of go through the different stages of where we kind of fall into that, where we feel like the hunting community falls into that, and kind of what the pros and cons of that might be, right?
Yeah.
The 5 different stages are the shooter stage, the limit out stage, the trophy stage, the method stage, and then the sportsman stage. So we'll kind of run through these and kind of talk about our own experiences as we go through. So first is the shooter stage. The shooter stage is the whole idea is that you just really want to get out there and get something, right?
Yeah.
See deer, kill deer. See turkey, kill turkey. Like it's just about getting one.
Yeah.
It's just all about, having that bow in your hand, having that gun in your hand, and just getting out there and harvesting an animal.
Right.
You're not picky. I mean, I think we all have been through that shooter stage. I know for me as a young man, when I shot, the first thing I ever harvested, the first deer I ever harvested was a big mature doe. I'll never forget that. We were in a little farm grove. This deer ran out. I was down on one knee, and she ran out, and she turned back and looked, and I made a great shot. It was a 12 gauge shotgun that honestly probably weighed just about as much as me. I think I was 10 or 11.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to really look back. I don't even really sure.
Yeah.
But that's what it was all about, is I wanted to shoot a deer.
Yeah.
And that's just something that's just kind of like just seared into my memory, What would you say your kind of shooter stage experience would have been?
I'd say 2 stories come to mind. Obviously the first one was my first deer I ever killed. It was youth season. I was 12 years old with a little 20 gauge, and I'd been hunting with my dad for quite a while, just going and sitting with him as he goes, and which is actually really good because I had been with him when he shot multiple deer, and so you kind of get that, you kind of learn how to deal with the adrenaline and stuff like that. So it was good, but yeah, it was just a perfect October morning. There was some frost on the ground, and it was just beautiful. And the very first, or right at first light, a bunch of deer came in, and it's funny because there was probably like 4 or 5 bucks if I remember correctly. It was a long time ago, but the first one that came in was a little 5-pointer, and the very last one was actually a pretty decent buck. Well, that 5-pointer came into 20 yards, and I dumped him. And it's like that's like the perfect example of the shooter stage, because it's like you don't care how big it is, you just want to get one under your belt.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, it was a really cool morning. In the morning, I'll never forget. It was actually it was cool at night, and then it got really hot. And I remember I had we had to move really quick because I actually had a football game, just a little Pee Wee football game. So it was pretty fun, shooting a deer, then going and playing some football. So it was cool. And then another funny story of kind of being in that stage was my first deer with a bow. And I wasn't sitting with my dad, but he was where he could see me. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of funny. I just remember sitting in the stand. It was pretty early. I get a text from my dad. It says shoot ? And where we were at, there was 3 different shooting lanes. I'm like, shoot. And so I look up to where he was sitting. There's nothing over there. I'm like, what? And then I look to our first shooting lane, nothing. Second shooting lane, nothing. Third one, there's a little 8-pointer sitting there. I'm like, oh, so he's asking me if I'm going to shoot this one. And sure enough, he just read the script, came right in and drilled him. But that's just a really memorable one because that was the first one where I was kind of by myself.
Right.
And it was just kind of funny too because, like, you know, Dad wasn't with me, but he really was because without my dad, you know, seeing the buck before I did and shooting me a quick text, you know, it wouldn't happen. And so it wouldn't have happened. But yeah, so that was another really cool memory with Dad. And I think that just is like all part of the shooting stages, not only, you know, getting stuff under your belt, but, you know, creating more memories and stuff with your old man or whoever your mentor may be. So.
Right. Absolutely. You know, I think it's interesting for me too, having kids. Yeah. I've got kids that are definitely in the shooter stage right now, right? Like our daughter Mia, she shot her first turkey when she was 8 years old. Now she's 16. Geez, that's crazy. But, you know, Jet, he's kind of almost a little bit out of the shooter stage, but like our daughter Bo Daisy, she's 9 and she's right in the middle of the shooter stage right now. She wants to get a turkey. Yeah. I mean, we went the other day and we got home and she was just upset because she didn't get one, right? And she looks at me, she's like, I really want to shoot a turkey. Yeah. You know, and I totally understand that, but it's really interesting to see how they're really going through that. Like they just want to get one. Yeah. You know, they want to harvest one. They want to shoot one. Yeah. They just want to get a turkey. Yeah. So once you get past that shooter stage, then you get into the limit out stage where you read, it talks a lot about that shooting isn't enough. Yeah. It's not enough just to get one. Yeah. Now it's about quantity. Yeah. Right. I think it's interesting to watch my little boy Jet. He's kind of in this limit out stage in a way. Yeah. He shot his first turkey a few years ago. Now he just shot his 6th turkey. And that's the thing he keeps saying. I've shot 6 turkeys. That's what he keeps talking about. It's all about kind of the limit, how many he's gotten. Yeah. You know, Bo Daisy, she's not even past a shooter. She just wants to get one right now. Yeah. I think I noticed how I, as a young man, went through that limit out stage. Yeah. Where when I was in high school, I was really into pheasant hunting. Well, I remember being in the shooter stage and just getting my first pheasant and thinking I was going to, you know, mount it in the living room. And then it quickly turned into, in Iowa, you could shoot 3 pheasants a day. So then I was all about shooting 3. Well, if we had 4 guys, we wanted to shoot 12. And then when we went deer hunting, if you're a gun hunter, shotgun hunter in Iowa, you were doing a lot of party hunting. If you had 5 guys, you wanted to shoot 5 deer. Yeah. It was all about trying to kind of limit out and almost trying to kind of prove yourself in that way, pushing yourself for more than just getting one, about getting many. Yeah. You know? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's funny because I never went through that limit out stage. Like I don't think I've ever fully tagged out in a year with anything that I've done. And a little bit of it is my fault and letting my ego get in the way because when I was 15 during the youth season, I shot a pretty nice 8-pointer. It was like 125 or something. And, you know, I was all jacked up to finally shoot like a good buck. And after that, I was like, well, now I'm going to hold out for something a lot bigger, you know? And looking back, I wish I wouldn't have done that because I passed on a ton of opportunities to, you know, shoot some more deer with my bow, my gun, whatever it may be. But like I said, I kind of just let my ego get in the way and like I just wanted to shoot one bigger and bigger. Well, I ended up not shooting another buck for, I think it was 8 years. And the next buck I shot was way smaller. Yeah. You know, so it's kind of weird how I just feel like I completely skipped that stage. So what you just mentioned there, I think is really interesting because the next stage is the trophy stage where it's less about opportunity and less about quantity. And it's more about kind of these self-imposed rules or about being more selective in that opportunity, looking for that trophy. Yeah. And I think, you know, I kind of stand on my soapbox when I say this, and I guess it's just really personal preference. I like the idea of a young person going from the shooter stage to the limit out stage into the trophy stage. Yeah. Because there's a lot of lessons learned in the shooter stage.
100%.
But I'll tell you what, where you really, I feel like you gain knowledge and experience, and that's where that limit out stage really, really comes in handy. Yeah. Because the reality is when you are a hunter, whether that's bow hunting, gun hunting, whatever, things go right and things go wrong.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to kind of cut your teeth in that limit out stage.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to get at is the fact that I feel like right now there's a lot of people that are trying to do quality deer management. They're trying to. There's a lot of adults and a lot of seasoned hunters that are in that trophy stage, and rightfully so. With all due respect, I love to try to shoot a big deer or big whatever as well. But I feel like sometimes those people are also kind of imposing that on their young kids.
Yeah.
That just like what you described, you went straight from shooter stage to trophy stage.
Yeah.
And you skipped a bunch of years when you could have just been harvesting some animals.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And not that you're trying to limit out every single year, but limiting out in the way of you're just trying to get some animals underneath your belt.
Yeah.
Gain experience, which is that turns into that knowledge and understanding of what you're doing. It just becoming more of a seasoned hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
A more skilled hunter.
Yeah, and so then, once you get to that trophy stage and you actually have a nice buck coming by, you know what to do, all the steps you need to take to, actually harvest that deer. And it's like, even like, I just feel like in today's day and age with,
That makes you sound like an old guy. In this day and age, no, I'm just kidding.
dang it.
25 going on 50.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just
you're right, though. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm just razzing you.
No, I know. Whoa.
So if you're hearing any background noise, it is like pounding rain and thunder outside.
It's storming pretty good. There's just really big thunder. I'm starting to get a little scared, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to get electrocuted or something.
But no, we'll be fine. But no, what I was going to say, I just feel like media, like today's media kind of feels like to me it pushes the trophy stage a lot more than anything else. And it's actually really sad to see because like the shooter stage, the limiting out stage is like the stages where you get hunters into the sport.
Yep.
And those stages are crucial.
Absolutely. That is hitting the nail on the head.
It's crucial to the numbers of hunters that we have because, look at Jet when he shot his first doe or whatever. He's still fired up to this day about it. And if you push that trophy stage super hard, like you're not going to have that experience. Like, it's going to be really cool to shoot a big buck for your first deer, but at the end of the day, still getting your first deal is more meaningful than the size of the deer.
Well, and I think to your point as well, I think that the trophy stage has led to some unintended consequences.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I feel like I hear this every year when we go to the consumer shows, when Ozonics is at Harrisburg or Iowa or wherever, we'll have a young man, guy that's in his 20s to 30s with, an avid bow hunter that walks up with his 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old little boy. And they've got all these pictures on their phone, but it's a bunch of pictures of deer they passed.
Yeah.
And it's a 7-year-old being like, well, that buck needs another year.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Man, I would just let him shoot whatever walks by, you know? So I think that's kind of been an unintended consequences.
Yeah.
I wish that those young people were just trying to stay in that limit out stage. Just let them get some animals, let them harvest some stuff, let them just enjoy and appreciate the love and gain that of hunting rather than just go straight to the trophy stage. Yeah. So I think that's been one unintended consequence. I think the other unintended consequence is that, the trophy stage has really, in my perspective, in the Midwest with deer hunting has really, and I guess you could say this too with like elk hunting and mule deer hunting, sheep hunting, whatever it might be, it kind of has turned into a number.
Yeah.
Right? It's got to be 200. It's got to be 180.
Yeah.
It's got to be 360.
Yeah.
Right? It's got to be this number. Yeah. And I think the number has led to what we talk about, the apology.
Yeah.
How many times do you get guys that'll show you a picture and they'll be like, well, he was only 148.
Yeah.
I thought he was 4.5. He's only 3.5. And I'm like, dude, you don't need to apologize to anybody.
Yeah. He's not a giant, but.
Yeah. It's like, dude, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, the trophy is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
And if you drew your bow back, you turn the safety off, you pull the trigger, you let the arrow fly.
Yeah.
Dude, be proud of that.
Yeah.
So it's like when we're at the shows and we'll have a little boy that walks up, that's like honestly feels like the trifecta for me.
Yeah.
When I really just try to like pour it on. When a little guy walks up and he like shows me a deer and he's like, well, it was only 130. And I'm like, dude, you know how long it was before I shot a 130-inch deer? Like, that's awesome, man. You should be so proud of that. Like, it gives me goosebumps because I'm just like, we all just need to be proud of what we're doing. Yeah. I agree. I like the idea of these self-imposed, selectivity, and goals in the trophy stage, but just don't apologize.
Yeah.
It was this big but, you know what I mean? I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
And it's funny. So, my family's pretty big into hunting. Well, not my entire family, but my two uncles are really big into it. And my dad's obviously big into it. My one uncle, Uncle Zip, shout out Uncle Zip.
This is confusing because you'll hear him. His nickname is Uncle Zip, but his name is actually Ben. Yeah. So I didn't know this when I first started to get to know you. And you're like, well, yeah, Ben, this, and then it's like, and you're like Uncle Zip. I'm like, you need to clarify on this because is they like two different people? They're the same person.
Yeah, Uncle, he's the best. He's awesome.
Yeah.
But anyways,
which kind of hits home for me because my grandpa, everybody called him Zip.
So really?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Actually, on his tombstone, it says Zip Tanner.
Oh, that's
his name
awesome.
is Frank Tanner, but everybody called him Zip.
Oh, that's cool.
I actually was like all about trying to get Tatum to name one of the kids Zip.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And she wouldn't do it.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, that actually like really kind of means a lot to me because when I heard you say that the first time, I was like, that's crazy. I've never heard of anybody else. Actually, Zach Workman, his sister Zoe, they call her Zip sometimes.
Oh, really?
But I've never met anybody else that had a guy buddy that was named Zip.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so Uncle Zip, like you said, his real name is Ben, and he's a avid bow hunter. He loves bow hunting. He created this little competition. It's called the BRBBC, Benrose Big Buck Club, or contest. But anyway,
check out the website URLs. This. No, I don't think it has a website.
Yeah, God no, no, he doesn't even know what a website is. Probably.
We should probably say his phone number and just let him start to get blown up, and he'd be like, "Why are these people calling me?"
Hey, I'm looking into the BRBBC.
yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, basically it's just all of our buddies and stuff, and we put money into a pot, and whoever shoots the biggest buck in the year gets it for gun and bow. Well, the kicker is that it's got to be a minimum of a 130 to qualify. Mm-hmm. And I like growing up, I liked that, but now looking back, like that was always kind of in my head a little bit. And one of my buddies who I went to high school with him, it was kind of cool. He was, we were just kind of in the same group with my uncles and whatnot. He was in it, and he shot just a beautiful 9-pointer, I believe it was, during the gun season. And he was all jacked up about it, just fired up. And you know what you do is you shoot your deer, bring it down to Zips, and get it scored. Zip is a really good scorer, actually. If you want to know a fun fact about Zip,
there you go.
Very good at scoring deer. But anyways, so if you shoot a deer, you bring it down to Zips, he scores it, and then he's got a little thing on the wall where you write down where everybody's at and whatnot. But anyways, this kid was all fired up about it, and so Zip threw the tape on him, and it went 129. And he was
the worst number.
And he was just beside himself, just mad. I'm like, dude, like you just shot your biggest buck ever, and you're mad because you didn't qualify for the Benrose Big Buck Contest. Like, are you kidding me? I'm like, be happy about that. I mean, this is a gorgeous deer. Like, I mean, so it's just little things like that I just kind of think about a lot. And
it's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, and that I think is the hard thing about that trophy stage, right?
Yeah.
I like the idea. I feel like the happy medium within the trophy stage is because it seems like it's so about the number, but I like the idea of a mature deer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like, and that has been one thing I feel like I've seen a little bit of shift in the last few years is guys talk about the number, but you hear a lot of people talk about like, hey, do you think that's a 3.5-year-old deer?
Definitely.
Do you think that's a 4.5? Do you think it's a 5.5? You have a picture in your office, at your house, the Doge, in the living room of the Doge. That's a really cool, I'm not sure the artist.
Ryan Kirby.
There you go. And we could probably pull up an image of it here. Of ta-da, ding. Yeah. But it's pretty cool because it has all these awesome pictures and depictions and little write-ups about how to look at a deer based on his shoulders and his belly and his back and his face and his neck and all these different physical characteristics to try to age out. Okay, that's a 2.5-year-old deer. That's a 4.5-year-old deer. Yeah. And I think I feel like that's what I do like. I feel like that I've seen in the trophy stage guys right now is a lot of people start talking more about, I'm looking to try to shoot a 4.5 or 5.5-year-old deer, a mature deer. Yeah. And that's kind of, I think, where I fall, man, I would love to shoot a 200-inch deer.
Yeah.
But I really am out there trying to shoot a mature deer.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm after. And I feel like a deer that has been around the block and they're hard to kill.
Yeah.
That's really what I enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where we're kind of different a little bit. Like I've said to you tons of times, like I'm like, my goal this year is just a 130.
Absolutely. You're more in that kind of shooter stage.
Yeah, still.
Yep.
Still, because like I said, when I shot that one that was like it was like 125 during the youth season, that was kind of my next goal is 130. And I still haven't gotten that. And so like now I feel like I'm old enough where I can kind of push myself to, because I shot I don't know, he was a 2.5-year-old, but so I went down quite a bit from that 125. So now I'm kind of like, okay, so I got another one under my belt. Now I'm like, let's get back to, trying to up the maturity a little bit, whether it's a 3.5-year-old or 4.5-year-old, and just kind of shoot for that 130. Just because like my personal goal is to just kind of keep going up.
Yep.
Whether it be age or score or whatever it may be. So
yeah,
that's kind of my goal this year.
Yeah,
so.
Right on. So what you just mentioned there, once you come through the trophy stage, the next stage is the method stage. It's less about what you take and more about how you take it.
Mm-hmm.
It's, again, a lot like the trophy stage in the fact that there's kind of these self-imposed rules, right? It's about the method. It's about the weapon that you're using. It's about the style of hunting that you're doing. For me, I definitely went through that method stage. I feel like I'm still kind of in that now, but I started out shooting a compound bow. The first bow I ever got was a used Matthews Q2 XL. I got it on the Shields used bow rack, right? I'll never forget that. I wish I still had it. I'll never forget that gold Matthews logo, on the limb, which was like about that wide. No, it wasn't that wide. But and that was what I started with. And then for me, I really got into traditional bow hunting. I shot a recurve for 10 plus years, and just that was all that I did. And if it was a recurve or nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was a good idea or bad idea, but I did a few different trips to Alaska, and just, it was like, I'm going to take my recurve or nothing. And it was more about the fact that I just really wanted to have my recurve in my hand. And if I got something, that was a bonus, but it was it was really all about the method.
Right.
My whitetail hunting was about, I really wanted to get super close and shoot it with my recurve bow.
Yeah.
Same with turkey hunting.
Right.
A lot of springs where missed them because it's hard to shoot a turkey.
Yep.
And then you try to do it with a traditional bow, and I was shooting instinctively. It's hard.
Yeah.
And so now I've shifted back to shooting a compound bow again, right? But the funny thing about my method stage is now I pretty much only bow hunt the whole Iowa season, even during late muzz.
Yeah.
I just shoot my bow straight through.
Yeah.
Kind of creates very clear and inherent disadvantage,
right?
But that's what I do. But the other part of the method stage for me is I like the fact that I I've really started to shoot my compound farther.
Yeah.
Right. At first it was like 20, 30, 40 when I went back to a compound, but now I'm thinking I'm trying to do 40, 60, 80. I'm really reaching out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been part of my method as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, I'm way more into the bow hunting. I shoot a compound bow. I gun hunt as well, but more so for kind of the camaraderie, like Wisconsin gun season. It's like a holiday. Like, it's amazing. It's so fun. But I would still rather hunt with a compound. But for me, a big method change for me is trying to film it. I think that's just a big part of like why, like we talked about before, like, the storytelling and it definitely adds another challenge, to try and get it all on film, because like I think a lot of people don't really realize how much work it really is. So I like that challenge, with the filming and stuff. And so that's been really fun to kind of try and tackle and take head on. And it's been really cool. So.
Well, I think you hit on a great point there. When I think of method, I think of the weapon that I'm using. Yeah. And I think about how, as you kind of go through these stages, I don't know what you would call it. It's just like just like the evolution of the type, the skill that you're gaining, and then you're going deeper, right? It seems like a lot of guys that start out as a rifle hunter, they do that for so long and they go through the shooter, limit, trophy, and then they get to that method stage and it's like, you know what? I want to try to shoot it with a compound bow. Yeah. They go that direction. From a gun to a bow. But the other thing, it's not only about the weapon within that method stage. It's about, like you said, trying to self-film. Yeah. It's about what style of hunting are you doing, right? Like obviously in Iowa, a lot of us guys that are bow hunting deer are sitting in a tree stand.
Yeah.
But I have a couple buddies that are all about spot and stalk and whitetails.
Right.
Which, geez, oh, Pete, that sounds hard.
Yeah.
You know, in the fall with the leaves and everything, it's just like Rice Krispies out there.
Yeah.
And they really want to get on the ground and they want to spot and stalk a whitetail.
Yeah.
That method, or sitting in a saddle, or just sitting on the ground, in a ground blind on the ground, or an elevated blind, or, you know, I think there's a lot of different methods within the style of hunting that you're doing this too. Even deeper than that, you talk about guided hunts, you talk about DIY hunts, you talk about hunting on permission ground, you talk about hunting on private ground, leased ground, public ground.
Yeah.
There's all these different methods. You hear a lot of guys that hunt on leases, and then all of a sudden they go on this just tear where they're like, man, I want to shoot a monster on public land.
Yeah.
And I want to shoot a mature deer on public land or nothing.
Yeah.
They give up leases, they give up permission spots, and they just start hunting public land exclusively.
Yeah.
There's that kind of method where you feel like there's a lot of people that kind of want to notch that on the belt.
Exactly.
You know, like you've talked about that before. You're like, I'd love to shoot a deer on public ground in Iowa.
Yeah.
That would just really take things to another level for me, you know?
Yeah. And like, I personally love the method stage because it opens your eyes to so much.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot like if you sit back and look at hunting, it's bow hunting or gun hunting, but there's really so much more to it.
Yes.
And it's, you know, like you said, like shooting a recurve or shooting one farther or trying to shoot one on the ground. There's so much to it. And that last year when I was interning at Midwest Whitetail, my eyes were opened up to so much, and especially the public land stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Last year when I started hunting public land with the guy I was filming, like I never thought it could be possible, but my obsession for deer like went through the roof.
I've noticed that with you when we've been out turkey hunting.
Yeah.
There'll be a doe that'll just come walking out along the edge of the field, and you're just like, dude, you come unglued. Yeah. I'm like, hey, there's a deer. And you're like, what? Where? Hold on. And you're like filming it. You're like 300 pictures later of it standing in the exact same position. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, just lifted its foot. Click, 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 click. You know, like you really get, you know, you really get going.
Yeah. And it's like, and that's like the huge part of the method stage. It's like, if you try something new,
yes,
it might make you just that more obsessed and that more into it. So like if anybody's listening, hopefully there is a ton of people listening, I would push you to like get outside of your comfort zone and try something new, because it's always good for you. And like for me, like trying the public land stuff was awesome. Mm-hmm. It was so fun it's just a whole different way of thinking, really. I mean, you think it wouldn't be, but it really is. Yep. And so yeah, I'm really excited. I would love to get on a public land deer, like you were kind of saying. And yeah, it's just, I really like the method stage because there's a lot to it, and it can open you up to a lot of things that you might not be comfortable with, and you know that's always good for you. So
yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that I noticed that I've really gone through within the method stage in the last year or two is and I kind of funny, I feel like I kind of infected my brother-in-law and got him drinking the Kool-Aid on this too. Is not only rifle hunting, but long range shooting within rifle hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went down that rabbit hole bad. That's probably for another podcast. But yeah, that's something that I'm really, really obsessed with. Yeah. Ultralight, long range rifle hunting.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's funny because there's so many different niches within this hunting stuff, which is, I think, is what makes it so awesome.
Yeah.
But it is just crazy how you think, and even for me, when this whole rifle hunting thing, long range rifle hunting thing kind of all of a sudden started to kind of rear its head. You know, you think about most people go from gun to a bow, but now I kind of feel like I'm going back towards the rifle stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, just because the skill that it takes to shoot so far.
It's a different method.
And yeah, and when you start looking at calibers and barrels and guns and scopes, and it's just like there's so much to it.
Yeah.
I know for me, I feel like I kind of was like, oh, that's easier. Whew. There's nothing easy about any of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's incredible what some of these people are doing. You know?
Yeah, and it's like, you know, every foot you get farther, there's another variable.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
There's so much to, like you said, well, that'll probably be a different podcast. But it is just, it's super interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think, too, when it comes to the method stage, I think some people, too, to your point, I like the idea of, you know, for all of us to challenge us to try new things. Yeah. But I think sometimes people kind of get stuck in the way that they do it.
Yeah.
right? Like, well, I've hunted the family farm my whole life, and we've got these elevated blind set, and this is the way we do it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was. Like before last year, I hunted one farm my entire life.
Yeah.
And so, I think that multiplied the hunting the public land, and I think that multiplied the experience quite a bit.
Right.
So
yeah, absolutely. So once you come through the method stage, the final stage is the sportsman stage, or I've also heard it called the give back stage.
Yeah.
In the sportsman stage, it really becomes all about the hunt. It really becomes all about soaking it all in.
Yeah.
You mentioned that earlier. I think you could see the huge difference between you and me this turkey season. I'm definitely in the sportsman stage of turkey hunting.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're in the kind of the shooter stage.
Yeah.
We were walking out one of the mornings, and it was like just a beautiful morning. It was super calm. I'm always out there when everybody else is still like laying in bed, because that's just how I am. So we're walking out in the pitch dark, and I stop and I'm like looking up at the stars and just like gawking, and that's just kind of how I am.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm about the camaraderie of getting to be together, being with friends, taking my kids, getting them into it.
Yeah.
I'm really, really in that sportsman stage. And I think as you evolve through the different stages, that's why you see a lot of older men and women and that's why I've seen it called the give back stage as well.
Yeah.
They become way more involved with their local archery club. They become involved with their Pheasants Forever, RMEF, Whitetails Unlimited, Ducks Unlimited, Pheasants Forever, NWTF, whatever other organizations there are.
Yeah.
They get more involved in taking youth hunting, about trying to get more into conservation and looking at how they can pass it along.
Yeah.
I've had a couple, guys that taught me how to hunt as a young man that, years later called me and said, "Hey, I'm sending you a box." I'm like, "What?" And I get this box in the mail, it's squirrel calls and all this random stuff that I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, now I look back on, they were just trying to pass it on to me.
Yeah, exactly.
They were like, "Hey, I don't really need this stuff anymore." It's funny. I do that with Jet.
Yeah.
Which I've kind of a little bit grown to regret this, because he'll go down in my little hunting room, our laundry room, that's got my little workbench, and he'll look at all the stuff and he's like, "Man, look at all the stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, Jetty, this is what I regret." "Hey, buddy, this is all your stuff, man. You can use whatever you want, whenever you want to use it." Well, now I can't find anything, because I go down there, I'm like, "Where's my turkey call?" And then he's like, got it out in the yard, and I'm like, "Jet," he's like, "You told me I could use it," which I did, so I can definitely tell that I'm in the sportsman stage. But the other part of the sportsman stage not only is about like giving back, but I think you're in the sportsman stage with when you hunt Wisconsin, when you hunt with Zip and your dad. That's where, and your cousins, Willie, Billy, Charlie. Yeah. That's their names, right? I got them all right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I got a lot to say about this stage. So
take a deep breath.
Strap up, boys. Buckle in. No, but yeah, like you said, like in Wisconsin, it's like it was super hard to come back to Iowa because like I'm super close with my family and hunting is a big part of that. Every single time after a hunt, you go down to Zips, talk about the hunt, maybe have a cold beverage, go back to bed.
Cold brew.
Yep. Go home, go to bed, do it again the next day. And like that aspect was like super hard for me to let go because like that means so much to me. And all that kind of wraps into, me getting to take his kids hunting because he's got 3 boys. And at one point, all 3 of them were youth hunters.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a tough kind of game for him to figure out, who's going to take who. And I was lucky enough and he was gracious enough to let me take his boys. And, I got to see Will shoot his first buck ever. And like, that's something that I will never forget for my entire life. And like, so that stuff is like super important to me. And so like, yeah, I'm only 25, but it's been really cool to experience that sportsman stage at such a young age. It's just something that you can't even really explain. Like it's super cool, but I got to say like, it was hard to leave Iowa, but it's been really cool to kind of be part of that sportsman stage with you too, because, we've been taking your kids. And so it's made the transition a lot easier because I kind of get that kind of feel of, still, obviously we're not family, but you treat me like I am.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's been really cool to do that. But then,
you're like a little redheaded stepbrother. No, I'm
Thanks.
just kidding.
Thanks.
Oh, no.
I get that all
It's
the time.
definitely built around sarcasm, love, and a little bit of hazing.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's terrible. I can't believe I get up with you to go hunting and stuff. It's unreal.
I don't try to lay it on early in the morning because I know that you're getting up early and I don't want to like make you want to just get back out of the truck and go home. No, it has been really fun.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Yeah, and I think for me, the sportsman stage not only based around that camaraderie, but based around teaching
Yeah.
and giving back and just trying to invest in that next generation.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes that next generation too is guys that are our age.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm always trying to, if I've had buddies that have been in their 20s, like, man, I'd love to get into hunting. I don't even know where to start. Try to shoot a deer. Man, I got all the gear you need. Here you go. You know, just so they can get into it.
Yeah.
So I do think that's pretty awesome. I think since we've talked about all the 5 stages, the interesting thing for me, as we've kind of gone through this discussion and talking about this today, is it's interesting how I feel like I am in different parts of all of it.
Yeah.
Even for me, like when it comes to whitetail hunting, I'm definitely past the shooter stage. I love to try to shoot a big deer, and I do hold out for a mature deer all fall.
Yeah.
But then I'm also really caught up in the limit out stage.
Yeah.
These last few years, I've really been about shooting more deer.
Yeah.
I've had an opportunity there's lots of antlerless tags in Iowa.
Yeah.
And so, man, I really enjoy shooting deer. As much as I enjoy shooting deer, I even more enjoy, I'm a gift giver. That's how I am, right? Like if you've ever heard of the love language book, that's my love language. I'm all about gifts, man. It's terrible. One of the things that I love to do is to give deer meat away. I mean, heck, you've got a freezer full of deer meat.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I'm like, here you go. Moose meat, deer meat. So as much as I love shooting and harvesting deer, I love even more giving deer meat away.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, we even saw that homeless guy the other day, and I honestly almost went to my house, grabbed some deer sticks, and took them back to him. I was like, oh, would that be weird? But so I love giving deer meat away. And so, but that's kind of for me where the limit out stage has really been fun. But then in Iowa too, I love to try to shoot a trophy, but I also only want to do it with a bow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and then if Jet wants to go, I put all that aside
Yeah.
to just stay in the sportsman stage because I want to get him one.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that's interesting too is if that's for Iowa.
Yeah.
But if I go to Alaska, I've been fortunate enough to harvest a couple moose in Alaska. The first time I went to Alaska, I was shooter stage.
Mm-hmm.
I want to shoot a moose.
Yeah.
If it's brown, it's down. If it's a legal moose, I don't care how big it is. I am ripping an arrow, baby.
Yeah.
It is. I'm like not even thinking twice. And I didn't.
Yeah.
But then we were fortunate to go back 2 years from that. 2 years later, then it was 100% about the method. I shot it with a bow the first time, and I knew the second time I'm only shooting with a bow.
Yeah.
A lot of guys get pulled into they shoot with a rifle. More power to you. But I was just all about my bow. First and foremost,
Yeah.
I'll go home with nothing, or it has to be with my bow.
Yeah.
But then second, I was all about the trophy. I wanted to shoot a big one.
Yeah.
I shot a 34-inch moose the first time, and I really wanted to look for something that I was, not that I would be proud of, because I'm proud of the first one.
Yeah.
But I wanted to try to challenge myself into shooting more of a mature bull.
Yeah.
And so, and it's interesting even for you in Iowa, right? In Wisconsin, you're definitely trophy stage,
Yeah.
sportsman stage.
Yeah.
But here, you're kind of shooter stage.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I'd say my standards in Wisconsin, it sounds weird saying this, are probably higher in Wisconsin than in Iowa.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of weird. Like I'm kind of stuck in the middle of the method and the man, I can't think right now.
Method and
And the sportsmanship. Sorry, just because the thing, like I love the filming and stuff. Like it's really awesome. Like I love that method part, but I also love the experience part. And I've noticed a lot of times that the filming kind of takes away from the experience a little bit.
I agree.
And it's kind of a tough thing. So like I'm constantly trying to find that balance when I'm out there, whether it be filming something for 10 seconds and then taking 20 seconds just to soak it in. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that part's kind of weird because I feel like I'm kind of getting tugged both ways a little bit. And like I think,
can I say something to that?
Yeah.
I think I'm glad you mentioned that because I've noticed that with you and I this spring.
Yeah.
Because I used to be a videographer, and when I stopped being a videographer and just started, just next stage of life, at first I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, well, am I going to try to still video stuff? Am I going to try to just do it myself or like not video at all?
Yeah.
And I started videoing it and it felt like work.
Yeah.
And then I all of a sudden within that method stage, I felt like it was taking away
Yeah.
from like the moment.
Yeah.
And so then I went to the complete other extreme where like the only piece of, equipment that I could carry to capture a moment was my cell phone.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done over the last how many years. It's just like, I'll take my phone out here and there. And it's really been more with the kids, right? Because Jet thinks, I could see a raccoon walk by. I'm like, oh, it's a raccoon. But Jet's like, it's a raccoon. You know what I mean? He's like freaking out about it,
Yeah.
So I'm noticing I'm filming more like in such a elementary way.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you say that because for me, it really felt like it kind of took away. But now going out spring turkey hunting, there's been things that have happened, beautiful sunrises, hens walking by yelping and different things, and having toms walk in and having an opportunity to shoot them, where it's so awesome to be able to have that memory.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it is such a balance because when you're looking at a viewfinder, you're only so connected in the moment.
Yeah.
It's a lot of disconnection.
Yeah.
Without
a doubt.
So it's just a tricky thing.
Yeah. And like last year working with Midwest Whitetail, I didn't get to go home very much at all. I got to go home over Thanksgiving. I had a chance to hunt with Benny and Willie.
Yeah.
Just one night. And I'm like, God, I don't know if I should film. I don't know.
Just be out there.
Yeah, I should just be out there. And I'm like, screw it. I'm bringing the camera. Brought the camera, filmed a little bit. Didn't film it like I
every
normally
single
did.
thing.
Yeah, I just, kind of brought it just so we could get the kill shot and stuff. And man, we just had a ball that night with the camera there.
Mm-hmm.
We were just screwing around in the blind and, probably being too loud and whatnot, and ended up shooting a buck. And I'm like, well, crap, now we kind of got to film a little bit so I can actually make this into a little video.
Yeah.
And so whatever, we go find the deer and died in a perfect spot right in the middle of a cornfield. Sunset was just beautiful. And like I tried to do everything so fast just so we could get it done and then soak it in. And it worked out perfect. Got everything done, got some pictures taken. And I'm like, guys, let's just drop everything. Let's just sit down for like 10 minutes because like this has been an amazing night.
Mm-hmm.
We're never probably going to have this again. I mean, we might, but.
Sorry.
Oh,
That's
good.
Piece of paper. That was really distracting
That's all right.
to your really memorable, passionate story.
Well, I'm like,
Stupid paper.
but I just told them, I'm like, you guys, we have the video and stuff, but like, you can't really capture everything. So we just sat there and just tried to soak it in as much as we could. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, it's hard to find that balance,
Mm-hmm.
but when you can, it's pretty cool because you have that kind of core memory, and then you also have something that you can go look back at and watch again and show everybody. So
Yeah. And I think the last thing that I would say about these different stages is what kind of brings it full circle. Because we talked about the different stages and we've talked about why we hunt. The thing that I would just challenge people, and I've even had to challenge myself on this, I noticed I was like this when I was a recurve hunter. I would get real like testy.
yeah,
Well, compound bow or a shotgun or ba or, well, that's a leased ground, right? I hunt public land. Man, I would just say what I've had to check myself on too is that the fact is that why we hunt for everybody may be a little different, first off. And second off, we're all in a different stage in an evolution of being a hunter and being an outdoorsman, a sportsman. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like we all need to stick together. We all need to respect each other for what stage we're in.
yeah,
And there's not like one stage carries more weight than the other.
No.
There's 5 pieces of this. I'm terrible at math, but a fifth. And it's like not like this one carries more weight than this one or whatever. I'm not even saying which stage we're mentioning here.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
They all balance each other, right? And so I think for me, I just challenge myself. I challenge people the 4 people that are listening to just think about that and respect that other person, man or woman, and the sportsman and what they do and where they're at and what's important to them and what stage they're at.
Right.
And don't give them a hard time, because I think that's the part of the reason that the apology,
yeah, definitely.
what did you say? It's so big, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or no, it's not that big, or it's not a giant, but
That's exactly right. It's not a giant, but because all these people feel this pressure because they feel like they're making someone else mad or it's offending somebody,
Yeah.
man, whatever.
yeah,
All these stages, deserve the same amount of respect.
Yeah.
And we all need to respect where people are at in those stages.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
definitely. Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't think there's any other way to really say that. We're all in it for the same reason, and like you just as outdoorsmen, you got to be doing this together and support everybody and how they're doing it.
Right.
Unless if it's illegal.
Yeah. Unless it's not again. Man, we're all for it. Yeah. Shooting them out of the shotgun or shooting them out of the truck window. Not exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We're not for that.
Yeah.
If it's legal method of take and it's legal within the rules of where you live,
Yeah.
then I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if the state changes the law, then okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think we all just need to stick together. We all need to be respectful
Yeah.
of where we're at.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's a good way to end it. Don't you think?
I think so too.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching. This is, like I said, Ozonics Killerwind podcast number 3 in the books. Talked a lot about stuff, why we hunt, the different stages. Thanks for watching. My name's Cole Tanner. Thanks for listening.
I'm Nick Simon.
Come back again. We actually have big plans for episode number 4. A little sneak peek. First guest, inaugural guest.
Yep.
Yep. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's wow. Somebody super important.
Yeah, you guys are going to be shocked.
Big time.
This is going to be big.
Yeah, it's game changer. Game changer. I'm telling you, this could just take this whole thing to the next level.
Yep. So you guys are going to have to subscribe,
check it out.
Smash that like button.
Yeah, smash it as hard as you can.
Yep. Just so you guys can,
Don't break your phone, but hit it, smash it really hard.
just so you guys are, ready for what's coming down the pipeline.
There you go. All right. Hey, welcome to the show. Come see me at the show.